What is up, everybody? Welcome to the next episode in the Beginner's Guide to Bossing series. In this episode, we are going to be checking out the Hellhound boss Cerberus, and I'm going to be taking you guys how to kill Cerberus with melee and ranged. So, first thing is first, Cerberus is a Slayer boss, so that means you will have to have a required Slayer level to kill Cerberus, and you will also have to be on a task. You cannot kill Cerberus without being on a Slayer task. In order to actually be assigned Cerberus, you are going to need a Slayer level of at least 91 to be assigned a boss task, which would allow you to kill Cerberus. But on the other hand, Cerberus is a Hellhound, so if you are assigned a Hellhound task, you can still kill Cerberus with a Slayer level of 91, but you can also start killing Cerberus at level 86 Slayer with the help of a Wild Pie. The Wild Pie does boost the Slayer stat by 5 levels. Now, although I don't recommend doing it at level 86, you are more than welcome to. If you want to boost to kill Cerberus on a Hellhound task, I'd probably say wait until level 88. Put the Preserve Prayer on if you have it, which probably, if you have this Slayer level, you probably should have the Preserve Prayer. But yeah, so 86 Slayer, you can actually start killing Cerberus on a Hellhound task with a Wild Pie. So, how do you get to Cerberus? Well, Cerberus is located in the Taverley dungeon, and there's going to be a couple shortcuts that are going to be available to you to get to Cerberus faster, but they do require agility levels. So, head over to the Taverley dungeon and go down the ladder. Immediately in front of you, there is going to be a pipe shortcut. This does require level 70 agility to squeeze through. Squeeze through this, and you're going to want to run around past the black demons, through the poison spiders, and continue on to the cavern entrance. This is where Cerberus is located. Following this, there is also a level 80 spike jump agility shortcut, which you can actually use that one at 75 with a summer pie because it does boost agility by 5 levels. The pipe shortcut you can do at 65 with the summer pie, and if you have neither of these and can't use either of these shortcuts, well, you're going to have to run all the way around, and you will need a dusty key, which I'm sure if you're level 91 Slayer, you've probably already acquired or know how to acquire a dusty key, so I'm not going to go through that. If you don't know how to get it, sorry about it. I do want to also mention that Cerberus does drop a teleport to the Cerberus lair. Obviously, if you're starting out and this is your first time going to Cerberus, you're not going to have any of these, but Cerberus does drop the Keymaster teleport. 3 of them. They are a pretty uncommon drop, but they will teleport you right to the entrance of the Cerberus lair, so it makes it very quick to get there. Starting out, we're going to get into Cerberus's combat stats. Cerberus has a combat level of level 318 with a hit points level of 600. Now, that may seem a little steep, but it's not really going to matter, and we'll get into that in a minute. Max hit is 23, and that is all styles of attack because Cerberus does use melee, ranged, and magic attacks, and Cerberus's main weakness is Crush. As for the combat stats, Cerberus has an attack level of 220, strength level of 220, a defense level of only 100, magic level of 220, and a range level of 220. Now, most importantly here are going to be the defensive stats. As for the stab defense, plus 50, slash is plus 100, crush is plus 25, magic plus 100, and ranged is plus 100. Now, you can actually use a variety of weapons at Cerberus, starting with the Abyssal Tentacle, the Zamorakian Hasta, the Scythe of Vitor, and an Abyssal Bludgeon. Now, because of that plus 25 to crush bonus, the Abyssal Bludgeon is going to be very good here at Cerberus. Following that is going to be probably the Zamorakian Hasta and the Grazi Rapier at plus 50 to stab, and slash is going to be the Abyssal Whip coming in probably last. But you can also have a very good time here if you do happen to own a Scythe of Vitor. It is very good at Cerberus, even though Cerberus does have that plus 100 slash bonus. As for ranged, main weapon going to be used here is either going to be the Armadillo crossbow or the Toxic Blowpipe. Preferably you want to be using a Toxic Blowpipe with rune darts here. It is very effective that way. Now, because Cerberus's defense level is only 100, you won't really need a special attack weapon here that actually lowers defense. If you have 91 Slayer, chances are your combat level is pretty high and your stats are pretty decent. So if you use a Dragon Warhammer here and happen to hit, your first special attack would take Cerberus's defense down by only 30, because that's 30%, dropping it to 70. So it's not really worth it. As for the Bandos Godsword, also not really worth it because of that low defense. Granted, you can probably hit a 60 plus on a Slayer task, so you would drop the defense down to 40 or below, but there are better special attack weapons that actually deal a lot of damage that you can consider using. These special attack weapons are the Crystal Halberd imbued, and if you don't have that, you can use a Dragon Halberd. You can also use a Dragon Dagger. If you're pretty low on money, Dragon Dagger is not bad for special attacks here. And if you are rolling in cash a little bit, you can also opt to bring Dragon Claws for special attacks at Cerberus, because they also do hit pretty well, even though Cerberus does have that defense bonus of plus 100 to slash. Now, before we get into the gear setups, I want to talk about Cerberus's mechanics. There are a few that you're going to have to watch out for. First mechanic is going to be opening up the fight. When you start the fight with Cerberus, there's always going to be a pattern of attack that is never going to change. Now, as for this, you can prayer flick this and avoid all damage. Granted, Cerberus doesn't hit that often or that high if you're using decent gear, but if you do have lesser gear, you're going to want to get this down. When you start the fight with Cerberus, you're going to walk in, Cerberus is going to stand up, and it's always going to lead with the same 3 attacks in the same pattern. It's going to be magic, then ranged, and then melee. And the way that you can prayer flick all 3 of these is just watch as the animation starts. When you run into the room, the first attack is going to be magic, so you will start off praying magic. As soon as you see the magic ball come out, you are able to switch to ranged. As soon as you see that come out, you will switch to melee, and you will avoid all damage from these attacks. After this, you will switch back to your magic prayer for the remainder of the fight. The second mechanic I want to cover is going to be the lava pools. Now, at a certain point, Cerberus is going to say grr, and this will appear as text over Cerberus's head. What this is going to do is going to spawn lava pools around the room, and one will always spawn underneath of you. Some other ones will spawn around the room, and you are immediately going to want to move off of this because you will take rapid high damage, which will deplete your hit points very quickly. You will want to be at least 2 squares away from these lava pools. If you are standing on any of the adjacent squares, you will take less damage than standing directly on top, but it is still rapid and can still hurt quite a bit. The last mechanic that I'm going to talk about is going to be the spirits that Cerberus is able to summon. Sometimes throughout the fight, Cerberus will summon some spirits that come out, and they are arranged in a certain order that is always random, but they do abide by the combat triangle. So when Cerberus calls these out, you are going to have to flick your prayers depending on what order that these are going to attack from. Now, if you are using the RuneLight client, there is a plugin that comes out and shows you what order that these spirits are going to attack in. So once the spirits get out into the arena that you are fighting Cerberus in, you'll want to switch to that prayer immediately. As soon as this spirit takes off, you are going to want to switch to the next one in line, wait for that one to take off, and then you are going to switch to the last one. Now, this is pretty quick. You do have to do this a little bit fast or you will take damage. If you do end up missing a prayer flick, you will take 30 damage from each one of the spirits that you miss. They will also drain 30 prayer points regardless of whether you are praying correctly or incorrectly. Now, there is a way around this. If you do have the money, or if you already have one and can get a spectral spirit shield, this will have the amount of prayer points that these spirits drain. So the spectral spirit shield is necessary, but it's not 100% necessary. If you can afford it, it will make your life a lot easier. If you can't, don't sweat it. Just make sure that you keep your prayer points up. When I show you guys kills, I'm actually not going to be using a spectral spirit shield because I'm trying to do this cheap just to show you guys it can be done even if you don't have a huge bank. Now, as we go ahead and get into the gear setups, I'm going to go ahead and say this. Usually I do recommended stats for you guys to actually kill an NPC, but for Cerberus, if you're at a Slayer level of 91, I'm gonna guess that you probably have enough experience to know that you probably need decent stats for Cerberus, so we're gonna entirely skip that part for this video. So as for my melee gear setup that I'm gonna be showing you guys, like I said, I'm gonna try to do this cheap and show you guys that you don't need a ton of money to do this. First up, going with the Slayer helmet, you're obviously going to be on a Slayer task because you can only kill Cerberus on a Slayer task, so you're always going to want to have your Slayer helmet on. I'm going to be using a Fire Cape, an Amulet of Glory, a Rada's Blessing, which is a reward from the Kibos and Karen diaries, but any blessing will work. I'm going to be using the Abyssal Tentacle with the Dragon Defender as an offhand, Thorax plate body and plate legs, Barrow's gloves, dragon boots, and an imbued berserker's rig. So like I said, the setup is not very expensive. It is pretty easily attainable with just a little bit of work. Over in the inventory, my special attack weapon is going to be a dragon dagger. I'm going to have 1 super combat potion, 8 prayer potions, a construction cape to get out, recharge my stats, and last I'm going to fill up the rest of my inventory with entirely sharks. And that is it. That's a very simple setup for Cerberus. This really is all you're going to need to get started. Now obviously, if you do have better gear, it will make your life a lot easier, but if you're starting out trying to make money or just chasing one of those primordial crystals, this will certainly work for you. So next up in the gear setup is going to be the range setup. So once again, going with something pretty cheap. As for the range setup, I am once again going to be using my Slayer helmet, and if you are using ranged, please make sure your Slayer helmet is imbued because you do want that plus 15% to accuracy and damage regardless of the attack style you're using. I'm going to be going with an Ava's Assembler, but if you have not done Dragon Slayer 2 yet, an accumulator will be fine. Once again, the Glory Amulet and the Rada's Blessing, but any blessing will work. I'm using the Toxic Blowpipe with Rune Darts. Blessed Dragonhide top and bottom for the extra prayer bonus, Barrow's gloves, snakeskin boots for the sake of being cheap, and an archer's ring eye. That is obviously not that cheap, but it's pretty much the only expensive thing aside from the blowpipe that I'm going to be using with the range setup. Now additionally, you can use an Armadillo crossbow with Dragon Ruby bolts, which are quite effective against Cerberus because they will chunk Cerberus out. And if you do have a supermassive bank and you happen to have a twisted bow, the twisted bow is very good at Cerberus. Over in the inventory, the setup is pretty much exactly the same, except I am replacing my super combat potion with a bastion potion. The bastion potion acts as a ranging potion and a super defense potion. It's not really necessary to use a bastion potion, so if you want to just use a normal ranging potion, that's fine, but I got a ton of these sitting around, so we'll just go with the bastion potion. As for a special attack weapon, I will just be using the blowpipe just for some extra heals. That special attack, if you hit high, can heal a good amount of damage and save you a couple food, maybe extend your trip a little bit. Alright, so we've went through the background information and Cerberus's stats, gear setups, and the mechanics of Cerberus, so let's go ahead and get into a kill. I will walk you and talk you through both a melee and a ranged kill. Alright, so we are going to go ahead and start off with the melee kill. So you see a little bit of flames here. You're going to pass those, and you will take a little bit of damage, but that's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and equip my Dragon Dagger, make sure my special attack is on, and it is on stab. Super Combat Potion, cross over, turn the Magic Prayer, and the Piety on. So I'm going to do this without attacking Cerberus here. So you can see here, it's going to be Magic Attack, Ranged Attack, and Melee. Then you can go ahead and start with your kill. You can see I'm not hitting too bad with the Dragon Dagger. It's decent special attack weapon here. Switch over to the Tentacle Whip and continue on. So Cerberus has called out the spirits, and over here you can see the first one is going to be ranged. So I'm going to go ranged, melee, mage, and want to pop back up because it is going to drain my prayer very quickly. Like I said earlier, if you have that Spectral Spirit Shield, it will help you out a lot here. But if you don't, it's not too big of a deal. So there's the Gur, and he's going to throw out those lava pools, and one of them did spawn under me. One will always spawn under you, two other ones elsewhere, and you can see that kill was pretty easy. So even in this gear here, it's not hard. You can do this with mediocre gear, and you can help for a primordial crystal to really help your bank out. But yeah, not a lot of GP required to do Cerberus. So let's go ahead and move on to the range kill. Alright, so gonna go ahead and start up with the range kill. As you can see, no special attack weapon. Only special attack weapon I'm gonna be using, like I said earlier, blowpipe for a little bit of healing if I can get some of those decent special attacks in. So to start this one off, go ahead and drink some of my Bastion Potion, Protect from Magic, and Rigor or Eagle Eye if that's what you got. And you can go ahead and start. And there's Magic and Mage and Melee. And back to Mage. So now I just want to keep an eye out for the spirits that Cerberus summons, and it is basically the same as melee here. Blowpipe's a pretty decent weapon, and it does hit pretty decently. As you can see, kills aren't too bad. My average kill time in this particular gear, somewhere around 1 minute 45 seconds to 2 minutes. So there's the Gur, and I'm gonna get out of the way of that. Try to keep an eye out for some spirits over here. And there are the spirits. See if I kill Cerberus, and I've killed them. Killed Cerberus before the spirits came out, so they will not do any damage to me. But yeah, there you go, guys. As you can see, subpar gear, not too expensive, very easy boss to kill if you have 91 Slayer, and you can make a decent amount of profit. I believe the statistic is each Cerberus kill is worth about 96,000 GP each, assuming that the rates of the crystal drops are actually added in there. So even still, about 100k GP per kill, not a bad boss to kill. Alright guys, that is going to do it. I've showed you the mechanics of Cerberus, a melee and a ranging setup, and I have walked you through both the melee and the range style kills. I think that is going to give you guys all you need to get started with Cerberus, even if you don't have much cash. I'm telling you, Cerberus can easily be done, even if you don't have much cash. So get out there, get some primordial crystals, and make some bank, build your banks up. If you like this video, please leave a thumbs up down below. They really help the video's popularity. If you haven't done so yet, tap that subscribe button on your way out, and in the description below you can check out a link to my Patreon page. All of your pledges help support my channel directly and help me pump out more content, better content, and more frequent content. I will see you guys on the next video. Take it easy, everybody.